Detecting if you're stressed may seem simple at first, as if it's just about feeling tired or down. But stress isn't always obvious, and it rarely makes itself known immediately. Instead, it creeps in slowly, slipping into your daily life in ways that are often unnoticeable at first. It might start showing up as minor irritations, slight physical discomforts, or a sense of apathy. Often, we dismiss these signals as just part of everyday life, convincing ourselves that they're normal aspects of adulthood, until one day we find ourselves weighed down, the burden heavier than ever before. To truly understand stress, we need to recognize how it can manifest in deeper and subtler ways. Imagine any given day where you wake up feeling a vague restlessness, an unsettling feeling that you just can't shake. Without knowing why, you sense that something is off. But since you can't pinpoint the source, you convince yourself that you're just a bit tired and that it will improve as the day progresses. However, that feeling doesn't go away. It follows you day after day, intensifying each morning with each new responsibility weighing on you. Gradually, stress begins to impact your mood in ways that are almost invisible at first. It changes how you react to life's small challenges, turning minor setbacks into triggers for disproportionate reactions. Getting stuck in traffic, an unplanned meeting, or an unanswered message. Ordinary situations suddenly provoke a frustration you can't quite explain. Irritability becomes a new norm. The patience that once defined you fades away, and you find yourself reacting strongly to any minor inconvenience. You start lashing out at those close to you. Family members, friends, colleagues. Small comments, which you'd usually brush off, now prompt impulsive or even harsh responses. And this behavior creates a sense of guilt, a deep dissatisfaction with yourself. You recognize that you're not behaving the way you'd like, yet you don't understand why you can't seem to control these reactions. Over time, this guilt adds another layer of stress, trapping you in a cycle that seems impossible to break. Physical exhaustion is one of the clearest signs that stress has taken root. It's that lingering tiredness that doesn't fade after a good night's sleep, the kind that sticks around even on days off. You wake up in the morning feeling as though you've just run a marathon. Even simple actions, getting out of bed, taking a shower, dressing, seem to demand more energy than you have. This exhaustion goes beyond the physical. It's a mental fatigue that lingers, making every activity feel like a burden. Your body, in its attempt to handle the emotional and mental strain, begins to respond in other ways. Muscle tension becomes constant, especially in your shoulders, neck, and back. It feels as though an invisible weight presses down on you, an emotional load your body doesn't know how to release. This tension brings a sense of stiffness, a discomfort that accompanies you throughout the day. Physical pain becomes part of your routine, yet instead of recognizing it as a symptom of stress, you start to accept it as your new reality. Besides muscle pain, stress also affects your digestive system, altering your appetite and stomach function. For some, stress suppresses appetite, making even the thought of food unappealing. Meals lose their flavor, and eating becomes a mere obligation. For others, stress causes an increase in appetite, a search for comfort in food. In both cases, the relationship with food reflects the inner emotional imbalance, signaling the turbulence you feel inside. And then there's sleep. For many, bedtime marks the beginning of a battle with the mind. You close your eyes, hoping for rest, but your thoughts begin to whirl like waves in a storm. You think of tasks left undone, tomorrow's responsibilities, small worries that seem trivial during the day, but now feel overwhelming. Insomnia becomes a constant companion, and the few hours of sleep you manage to get never seem enough, leaving you feeling even more drained than before. Others experience the opposite. They sleep more than necessary, desperately trying to escape reality, to avoid the problems that await them. But this extended sleep doesn't bring rest. Instead, it leaves you feeling numb, as though you're just passing time without addressing what truly needs attention. This irregular sleep pattern not only worsens the feeling of exhaustion, but also amplifies the physical and emotional toll of stress, trapping you in a cycle that feels impossible to break. Stress also chips away at our ability to concentrate. The focus that once came naturally becomes an ordeal. Tasks that used to be simple now feel complicated, and you feel as though your mind is always preoccupied, full of worries. This lack of focus affects not only your work, but also your everyday activities. Simple pleasures like reading a book, watching a movie, or even having a conversation require a mental effort that feels exhausting. The frustration of not being able to complete tasks as before builds up, creating a sense of inadequacy. This sense of inadequacy leads to a drop in self-esteem. You begin to question your worth, doubt your abilities, and feel inadequate. Every mistake, every unfinished task becomes a reminder that you're struggling to keep up. This self-perception creates a spiral of negativity, where stress feeds on frustration, and frustration creates even more stress. This cycle of self-criticism is one of the most draining aspects of stress, as it traps you in a mental prison from which it's hard to escape. Stress also has a significant impact on personal relationships. Patience, understanding, and empathy begin to fade, and you feel disconnected from those around you. Conversations that once brought joy now feel draining. You start avoiding social events, canceling plans, and gradually isolating yourself. This isolation isn't intentional, but rather a response to emotional exhaustion. Being around others, which used to be a source of happiness, now feels like just another obligation. Over time, isolation becomes a conscious choice. You convince yourself that it's better to be alone, that others wouldn't understand what you're going through. This belief creates an intense sense of loneliness, as if no one could grasp the depth of your pain. This disconnection from others amplifies the feeling of helplessness, as you feel like you have no one to turn to, fighting a silent battle against an invisible enemy. And then stress starts affecting your view of the future. Goals, dreams, and plans that once filled you with excitement now seem distant, almost unattainable. The future, once full of possibilities, feels like an extension of the exhausting present. Stress makes everything feel harder, as if every step toward your goals is a monumental effort. This pessimistic outlook fosters a sense of despair, as if there's no escape from the state you're in. But how can you clearly identify that you're stressed? The first step is self-awareness, acknowledging these signs and accepting that they're not normal. Stress isn't just an emotional state that will eventually fade. It's a response from your body and mind to excessive pressure. Admitting that something is wrong requires courage, especially in a society that often values productivity and resilience over mental health limits. Once you recognize stress, it's important to find ways to manage it. Physical activities, relaxation techniques, and meditation can help release built-up tension. Talking to someone you trust, whether it's a friend, family member, or health professional, is essential to share what you're feeling. Admitting that you need help is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It's a step towards self-care and regaining control over your life. Stress is a reality for all of us at some point, but it doesn't have to define who you are. With support, with strategies to relieve it, and with self-awareness, it's possible to find a path back to peace and balance. Recognizing stress is the first step to taking care of yourself and restoring the ability to live fully and healthily.